Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's take up the analysis of today's The Hindu newspaper. The Financial Action Task Force has decided to retain Pakistan on its grey list. See, we have covered the complete background to this topic through multiple videos, and you can go back and watch our Hindu analysis for the 19th of October, 27th Jan, 13th Feb, and 16th Feb for a complete understanding. During its latest summit in Paris, the FATF has decided to retain Pakistan on its grey list, and it has identified Pakistan as a terror financing risk. Now, Pakistan has been given a fresh deadline, and by June 2020, it is expected to completely implement the 27-point action plan that has been prescribed by the FATF. This action plan was prescribed by the FATF in 2019, and Pakistan was asked to implement the action plan by September 2019. However, Pakistan had failed to abide by this deadline, and its deadline had been extended to November 2019. During this review, it was found that Pakistan had implemented only 4 targets out of the prescribed 27, and hence a fresh deadline was given for February 2020. During this entire period, Pakistan has managed to implement 14 targets out of the 27 prescribed targets. So during the latest review, the FATF has found Pakistan to be lacking in these areas. It has asked Pakistan to identify and investigate all terror financing activities within its jurisdiction. Now, Pakistan is supposed to freeze all the funds and the bank accounts of all UN designated terrorists, and it is bound to effectively prosecute such individuals who are involved in terror financing activities. The FATF expects Pakistan to take strict action against terror outfits such as the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, which are operating out of its soil. Now, the FATF expects Pakistan to fulfill these targets by June 2020, or else Pakistan could face the risk of being placed on the blacklist of FATF. If a country is placed on its blacklist, then it will invite sanctions against its banking sector, and it will affect its ability to raise international finance. And for the sake of prelims, please remember that currently only 2 countries have been placed on the blacklist of FATF. This includes Iran and North Korea. Now let's take up an editorial from page number 10 that is related to the topic of road safety in India. See, India registers one of the highest number of motor vehicle accidents in the world, and as a result, India accounts for one of the highest number of deaths and injuries caused by road accidents. In 2018 alone, India accounted for more than 1.5 lakh deaths that have been caused by road accidents. This high fatality and casualty rate causes emotional loss. It also causes loss of income and livelihood, and it leaves behind permanent physical and mental trauma on the victims and their families. Studies have shown that most of these accidents have been attributed to human error and negligence, poor road conditions and lack of road safety in India, and as well as to the lack of enforcement by the authorities. See, deaths and injuries caused by road accidents are entirely preventable, provided if we take the adequate steps. Hence, promoting road safety and reducing road accidents have been included as a target under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Under Sustainable Development Goal number 3, sub-target 6, all the UN members have been mandated to reduce deaths and injuries caused by road accidents by 50% by 2030. Under Sustainable Development Goal number 11, sub-target 2, all the countries have been mandated to provide for safe, accessible, affordable and sustainable transport systems and promote the concept of road safety for all. In the pursuit of these targets, recently the 3rd Global Ministerial Conference on Road Safety was held at Stockholm. On behalf of India, Union Minister Nitin Gadkari took part in the summit, and he has reiterated India's commitment to achieve these ambitious goals that have been laid out under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But studies and estimates have shown that India is lagging behind with regard to achieving these targets. During the Ministerial Conference on Road Safety at Stockholm, the World Bank presented an assessment report on road accidents in India. According to this assessment report, 69% of fatal road accidents involve victims in the age group of 18 to 45 years. So this fatality rate directly translates into a severe economic loss for the country and as well as to the families. Another important fact that has been brought out by the assessment report is that 54% of road accident victims in India involve vulnerable road users such as pedestrians, cyclists, two-wheelers, etc. The World Bank assessment report also says that if India plans to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal number 3 sub-target 6, then it needs to invest an additional $109 billion over the next 1 decade. These massive investments are needed to improve India's road infrastructure and to design and build roads that are free from black spots and blind spots where most of the road accidents occur. Apart from this, India needs to focus on strictly enforcing the recently amended Motor Vehicles Act. See, recently, the Motor Vehicles Act was amended by the central government and it provides for the imposition of stiff penalties against those who violate traffic laws and regulations. Such steep penalties can have a deterrent effect and it can promote the safe usage of roads and vehicles by the users. But unfortunately, these amended provisions are failing to have the desired deterrent impact because most state governments have diluted the provisions as the penalties were considered to be very high by the general public. But what the general public and the state governments do not understand is that such high penalties are needed to deter negligent driving and tackle human error. Apart from diluting the provisions, the state governments have failed to strictly enforce the laws and the regulations. Because when it comes to road safety and traffic laws, they have to be enforced by the state governments at the end of the day. But unfortunately, due to weak enforcement and due to corruption at the lower levels, the existing laws and regulations have failed to have the desired deterrent impact. So the editorial says that the amended Motor Vehicles Act still has the potential to promote road safety and bring down accidents because it allows the consultants and the contractors who design and build roads to be held liable for poor design, negligence, and poor construction, which might lead to road accidents. It also empowers the central government to set up a National Road Safety Board, which can issue directions to the state governments with regard to enforcement. So the editorial says that the central government needs to make use of these provisions and hold the consultants, contractors, and the state enforcement agencies accountable. And this can go a long way in promoting road safety and in bringing down road accidents. The central government needs to push the state governments to strictly enforce these provisions. And the central government also needs to make adequate investments in order to promote quality road infrastructure and as well as promote road safety awareness amongst the public. If these initiatives are taken, then India might still come close to achieving these ambitious targets that have been laid out under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now let's take up another editorial which helps us understand how one extremist ideology feeds on another extremist ideology and how these radical ideologies promote hate crimes even in modern progressive societies such as Western Europe. See, a few days ago, a brutal terror attack took place in Germany. The attack was carried out by a neo-Nazi who subscribes to far right-wing ideology, and the attack was carried out against Muslim immigrants who have settled in Germany. See, the other day, we had spoken about the migration crisis that Europe is facing. Over the last few years, Europe has been receiving a steady influx of refugees and illegal migrants from countries such as Syria, Libya, Iraq, etc., which are currently in a state of civil war. These conflicts have triggered a massive humanitarian crisis, and a large number of refugees and illegal migrants have been seeking to enter Europe in order to escape persecution back in their home countries. So, in response to this migration crisis, a few European countries, such as Germany, have adopted a liberal refugee policy. Progressive countries, such as Germany, have adopted a liberal policy to accommodate and settle down refugees largely on humanitarian grounds. But such liberal and humanitarian policies have been opposed by radical far right-wing extremist outfits across Europe, and Germany has also seen a rapid rise in far right-wing extremism that is primarily motivated by anti-immigrant views. See, far right-wing extremism, be it of any religion or be it in any country, is primarily based on three factors. One is xenophobia, second is racism, and third is jingoism. Xenophobia is nothing but the dislike of a particular country or holding prejudice against the people of a particular country. Racism is the perceived feeling of one's racial superiority. And jingoism is nothing but excessive patriotism or excessive nationalism. The rise of far right-wing extremist ideology promotes hate crimes against foreigners, especially against immigrants and against minorities. In fact, the attack that took place in Germany is a reminder of the horrific terror attack that took place last year in Christchurch. Around the world, we have been noticing a trend wherein far right-wing extremism is on the rise. That is in countries such as Germany, Italy, Poland, or Belgium, or be it in the United States, be it in Australia or New Zealand, and as well as in few parts of Asia, we have been witnessing the rise of neo-Nazism. Sympathizers of the Nazi ideology have been making use of social media platforms to promote xenophobia, racism, and jingoism, which in turn has directly contributed to rising incidents of hate crimes and terror attacks targeted against immigrants and minorities. But one should also remember that the rise of neo-Nazism is a part of an action and reaction cycle that has accompanied the rise of jihadist ideology, which is also a type of far-right extremism. The Islamic State, which rose to prominence through these conflicts, has exported its jihadist ideology to Europe as well by exploiting the migration route. Even though a majority of the migrants are innocent civilians, the ISIS has managed to infiltrate a few extremists and radical jihadists by exploiting the migration route. And this has resulted in a number of terror attacks across Europe over the last 4 to 5 years. Apart from this, the steady inflow of migrants has contributed to an increase in crime rate in few European countries, and these factors have become fodder for right-wing political parties in Europe and sympathizers of neo-Nazi ideology to further promote far right-wing extremist ideologies. So this is a classic example of two far right-wing ideologies feeding off each other. Jihadist ideology feeds on its hatred of the kafir or the non-believer, whereas neo-Nazi ideology feeds on xenophobia, racism, and jingoism. So the editorial says that the rise of these far right-wing groups in Europe poses a serious threat to peace and security. Now let's take up a column from page number 10 in which the writer says that India needs the support of the United States if it has to realize its objective of establishing a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region. See, today, the Indo-Pacific region has emerged as the hub of global geopolitics. Traditionally, the Atlantic Ocean has been the hub of global geopolitics, especially during the World Wars and during the Cold War. Back in those days, the major powers were the Western democracies and the Soviet Union and its allies. And since all major geopolitical developments used to occur in the Atlantic Ocean, it had emerged as the focal point for all the countries. And since all the major geopolitical developments used to occur in the Atlantic Ocean, it had emerged as a focal point for all major powers. But this equation has changed entirely over the last 25 to 30 years. The rise of the Asian powers, such as India, China, Japan, etc., has shifted the focal point of global geopolitics from the Atlantic Ocean towards the Indo-Pacific region. Today, China has not only emerged as a superpower, but it has also emerged as a direct challenger to the dominance of the United States. So, in order to contain China's influence and aggression, the United States has launched a dedicated foreign and military policy that is focused upon the Indo-Pacific region. China, on the other hand, has managed to create hostilities with most of the powers in the Indo-Pacific region except for Pakistan and North Korea. For example, the South China Sea dispute and the East China Sea dispute has brought China into a direct conflict with all the Southeast Asian and East Asian countries. Similarly, China has a standing border dispute and strategic rivalry with India. China also shares a strategic rivalry with countries such as Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, which happen to be close allies of the United States. The United States and its close allies, such as Australia and Japan, they have been eager to establish a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region in order to contain China's aggression. India has also expressed a similar interest, and it has even come out with an Indo-Pacific doctrine that seeks to establish a rules-based order in the region. So the question is, what is a rules-based order? A rules-based order is nothing but a system or a mechanism through which countries uphold rules and regulations that have been laid out under international law and help in the maintenance of peace and stability and order in the region. So establishing such a rules-based order for the Indo-Pacific region has become a priority for these countries because of late, China has shown complete disregard to international law in the Indo-Pacific region as witnessed in the South China Sea conflict. So to contain China's aggression and promote such a rules-based order, countries such as Japan and the United States, they proposed a grouping of like-minded countries known as the Quad or the Quadrilateral. This informal grouping includes India, Japan, Australia, and the United States. Even though Japan, Australia, and the US have been very enthusiastic about this group, India has been quite hesitant when it comes to giving a military angle to the quadrilateral grouping. So the writer says that if India seeks to establish a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region, and if it seeks to contain China's aggression, then it needs the complete support of the United States, especially in the defense domain. The writer, in fact, uses the Iron Curtain reference to compare the developments in today's Indo-Pacific with the developments in the Atlantic Ocean during the Cold War. See, during the Cold War, an Iron Curtain had been drawn between Western democracies and the communist countries led by the Soviet Union. When such an Iron Curtain was drawn, even a country such as Britain needed to rely upon the United States because by then the US had emerged as a predominant power in the world. So the writer says that today's situation in the Indo-Pacific region is quite similar, where China has openly threatened the rules-based order by allying with countries such as Pakistan and North Korea. So according to the writer, if India seeks to protect and maintain this rules-based order, it needs to seek the help of like-minded countries, especially superpowers such as the United States. The writer explains how both the countries share common strategic objectives by providing a brief overview of their relationship. See, between the 1970s and early 2000, India and US shared a hostile relationship mainly because of the Cold War. During the liberation of Bangladesh war, India was forced to side with the Soviet Union by abandoning its non-alignment policy, mainly because of the hostility that was shown by the US government by supporting Pakistan during the 1971 conflict. This hostility continued well into the early 2000s mainly because of India's nuclear weapons program and Pokhran tests. But post 2001, the relationship has been completely transformed, and today both the countries are closer than ever. The 9/11 attacks and the global war on terrorism made India and the United States realize that both the countries would stand to benefit by cooperating in the field of counterterrorism and security and defense cooperation. So the then Vajpayee government started promoting closer relations with the US with regard to sharing of intelligence and defense cooperation. But a major breakthrough came in the India-US relationship when the Manmohan Singh government worked out the civil nuclear deal between the two countries. From here onwards, India and the US have become extremely close due to the alignment in their strategic objectives. This has enabled India to sign 3 out of the 4 foundational military agreements that are demanded by the United States. The US in return has started treating India as a non-NATO ally. Both the countries have even initiated the 2+2 dialogue between their respective defense and foreign ministers in order to align their foreign and defense policies. And India and US have managed to expand their bilateral military exercise to the trilateral level by including Japan as well. So by citing these examples, the writer says that the stage is set for India to build closer strategic and defense relations with the United States, and this would be much needed if India seeks to establish a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific region, especially if the objective is to contain China's aggression. Next, on page number 13, we have an article which refers to security cooperation between India and Maldives. India's Home Minister Amit Shah and his Maldivian counterpart have signed agreements to promote cooperation in the field of counter-terrorism and counter-radicalisation between the two countries. The two countries have even agreed to work together to counter organized crime and drug trafficking, which is a primary route for raising money and finances for terrorist and radical activities. The signing of these agreements acquires all the more significance because of late, Maldives has begun to emerge as a hub for radicalism inspired by the jihadist ideology of the Islamic State. Maldives is also highly vulnerable to the activities of organized criminal groups and drug cartels. And since the country is made up of hundreds of small atolls, these small islands could be easily taken over by a terror outfit or by a non-state actor, and it could be used as a base to target Indian interests in the Indian Ocean region. So that's one of the reasons why India is looking to enhance counter-terrorism cooperation with Maldives. Plus, both the countries have signed another agreement for promoting cooperation in the field of policing and law enforcement. Now let us take up the practice questions for today. Which of the following statements are correct? Punjabi language uses the Devanagari script, but the primary scripture of Sikhism, the Guru Granth Sahib, is written using Gurmukhi script. The first statement is incorrect, the second statement is correct. See, the Punjabi language uses the Gurmukhi script, and the Guru Granth Sahib has also been written in Punjabi language using the Gurmukhi script. So the correct answer is option B, 2 only. This question has been asked because we have a related article on page number 5. According to this article, the government of Punjab has made it mandatory for all government and semi-government institutions to write the signboards in Punjabi language using the Gurmukhi script. Now let us take up the second practice question. Which of the following statements are correct? A virtual private network or VPN extends a public network across a private network. This statement is incorrect because a VPN extends a private network across a public network. The second statement says VPN technology was developed to allow remote users and branch offices to access corporate applications and resources. This statement is correct. The third statement says internet users may secure their connections with a VPN to circumvent geo restrictions, censorship, or to connect to proxy servers in order to protect their personal identity and location to stay anonymous on the internet. This statement is also correct, so option B is the right answer. This question has been asked because we have an article on page number 1 which refers to the arrest of few social media users in Jammu and Kashmir because according to the authorities, they were spreading fake news and rumors by masking their identity and location by using VPN networks. Now let us take up the third practice question. Which of the following statements are correct? The National Thermal Power Corporation Limited or NTPC was set up in 1975 and has been incorporated under the Companies Act. This is a correct statement. It is India's largest energy conglomerate and it has established itself as the dominant power major with presence in the entire value chain of the power generation business. This statement is also correct because see, NTPC is no longer limited to generating power using thermal sources. It has in fact diversified its presence across the entire value chain, and today NTPC is directly involved in distribution and selling of power as well. The third statement is also correct because the NTPC has diversified from fossil fuels and it has made an entry into cleaner forms of energy such as hydropower, nuclear power, renewable forms of energy such as solar, wind, etc., mainly to reduce its carbon footprint. So the correct answer is option D, and this question has been asked because an article on page number 5 refers to a new solar energy park that is slated to come up in Rajasthan, and it will be a joint project between NTPC, Rajasthan Solar Park Development Company Limited, and Rajasthan Renewable Energy Corporation. Now let us take up the fourth practice question. Which of the following statements are correct? Mirza Ghalib was a prominent Urdu and Persian poet during the early years of the Mughal Empire. His work covered the rise of the Mughal Empire. Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar II bestowed upon Mirza Ghalib the title of Dabir-ul-Mulk. Asad and Ghalib were the pen names he had chosen to adopt. Amongst the given statements, the first two statements are incorrect. See, Mirza Ghalib has to be the most renowned and prominent Urdu and Persian poet, but his period of writing corresponds to the decline of the Mughal Empire and not to its early years and its rise. In fact, in a number of his works, he refers to the decline of the Mughal Empire and its replacement by the colonial powers. This renowned poet was given the title of Dabir-ul-Mulk by Bahadur Shah Zafar II, and he had chosen Asad and Ghalib as his pen names. So the correct answer is option B, 3 and 4 only. This question has been asked because on page number 6, we have an article which refers to a literary event in Kolkata that has been organized to pay tribute to Mirza Ghalib on the occasion of International Mother Language Day. Now let us take up another practice question that is related to the same topic. Which of the following statements are correct? The observance of International Mother Language Day was first announced by UNESCO in 1999 and it was formally recognized by the UN General Assembly. The idea to celebrate International Mother Language Day was the initiative of Bangladesh. It is celebrated on 21st February, which marks the anniversary of the Bengali language movement. All the three statements are correct. Option D is the right answer. See, in 1999, the UNESCO declared 21st of February to be celebrated as the International Mother Language Day, and this was later endorsed by the UN General Assembly as well by passing a suitable resolution. But this initiative at the UN was taken up by Bangladesh, and this date has been chosen because it marks the anniversary of the Bengali language movement. See, in 1947, when India and Pakistan gained independence, few disturbing developments began to take place in the Pakistan Dominion. The then Pakistani government tried to impose Urdu, which was primarily spoken in West Pakistan, on the Bengali-speaking population of East Pakistan. These majoritarian attempts were resisted by the Bengali speakers in East Pakistan, who were both Hindus and as well as Muslims. So in order to counter this oppression, the Bengalis of East Pakistan launched the Bengali language movement on the 21st of Feb 1952, and in order to commemorate this movement, Bangladesh took up the initiative to push UNESCO to celebrate this day as the International Mother Language Day so that the linguistic and cultural diversity of the world could be celebrated. Now let us take up a map-based question. Which of the following statements are correct? Dampa Tiger Reserve is located in Mizoram. It is located near Mizoram's border with Myanmar. Poaching by Myanmar-based insurgent outfits is a threat to its wildlife. The first statement is incorrect, but the other two statements are incorrect. So the correct answer is option A, one only. Please look at this map. The Dampa Tiger Reserve is located in Mizoram, but it is located along India's borders with Bangladesh, not Myanmar. And the wildlife in this tiger reserve is threatened by poaching that is carried out by insurgent outfits that are primarily based out of Bangladesh. This question has been asked because we have a related article on page number 6. According to this article, the Mizoram government would be setting up special panels to detect and deport illegal immigrants who have entered the state from Bangladesh. Also, please note down an important fact for prelims. Mizoram shares a 318-kilometer long border with Bangladesh. Now let us take up a practice question from the 2015 prelims paper. In the Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, an initiative of 6 countries, which of the following are not a participant? See, Mekong-Ganga Cooperation is a regional grouping involving India and 5 other countries from the Indo-China region or the Mekong Delta. This includes Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam and Thailand. So these are the 6 countries which are a part of Mekong-Ganga Cooperation. So obviously Bangladesh and China are not a part of it. Since the question is asking you to identify the countries which are not a part of this grouping, the correct answer would be option C, 1 and 3 only. Finally, let's take up a couple of mains practice questions. India registers one of the highest number of motor vehicle accidents in the world. What measures need to be taken in the interest of road safety? The second question, India's pursuit of a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific can be fulfilled only by aligning its policies with the United States. So kindly write an answer to these questions and post them in the comment section below. So this concludes our discussion for the day. Thanks for watching.